Hey guys, what's up? It's Deprimido. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here in FL Studio and I'm going to be breaking down how to make beats for guccihighwaters. So if you don't know, guccihighwaters is kind of an underground emo rap guy. He's friends with like Convolk and Garden and people like them. But the beats are a little bit different from those guys, so I'm going to be breaking those down. So for these beats, we're going to be in the range of about 120 to 135 BPM. I'm going to go with 125. So starting off, you're probably going to want some sort of piano sound, or you could also use like a guitar. If you use a guitar, it's maybe going to go more down the route of Convolk beats, but for just straight up guccihighwaters beats, you're going to probably want a piano. So this is the sound that I chose. You want it to be kind of high pitched and kind of ambient, and we're going to add to that later as well. So we're just going to lay out a little pattern with this. Real quick before we start on the pattern though, don't do like chords or anything. You want to start off with just kind of a top melody. So this is the pattern that I started out with. As I said, we're not going to do any chords, but you can do like multiple notes at once. I mean, technically that's a chord, but I just mean don't build it off of chords. Like don't specifically try to do chords. This is kind of just a little counter melody. So it sounds like this. I'm just going to randomize the velocities and the panning a little bit. And next we are going to do chords, but you want to do them on a separate pattern, and you probably want to do them with a separate piano sound. So next we're going to start laying out some chords. You kind of want these to be down in the deep range of the piano, and you want them to sound kind of dark. So these are the chords that I laid out. It's actually way more basic than it looks because this is just a copy of this. It's just copied up one octave, and then I turn the velocities down a little bit, but it's really just like 2-note chords. It's not even full triads. So this is what it sounds like. By the way, in case you're wondering, I'm using this Grand Rhapsody piano, which is made by Waves. You can pick it up for about 30 bucks. So these beats generally aren't going to have a ton of counter melodies, but if you are going to do counter melodies, you can maybe do like vocal chops, or you can do bells or guitars or something like that, but just try to keep it pretty simple. So I just made a little counter melody here with this bell. It's pretty simple and it sounds like this. And that's all I'm going to do for the melody, so let's move on to these drums. So for the hi-hat, we're just going to keep it nice and simple. This is the sample that I used. You want to use kind of just a really light, kind of high-pitched hi-hat. And we're pretty much just going to start with a two-step, and then we're going to add quite a few rolls. So this is the hi-hat pattern that I originally came up with, although I'm not really feeling it, so I'm going to change it, but this is what it sounds like. So for this one, I don't actually want to do a ton of rolls. I don't think it's going to sound super good in this beat, so I'm just going to go with a simple two-step like this, and then you can see we've got the velocities varying like this, and then we're also just going to randomize it a little bit. I also sped it up to 135 instead of 125, and this is what it sounds like. So for these types of beats, you're probably not going to want to use a clap. You're going to want to use maybe a snare or a rim or something like that. This is what I went with. You could also add a little bounce snare if you want. So for these beats, you're going to use either a really soft 808 or sub bass. This is the sub bass that I went with. If you're not wearing headphones, you might not be able to hear it. Next, we're going to do the kick. This is probably going to be the last thing. And you don't want to use a super hard kick, maybe the rat kick is probably a good idea. And you want the kick pattern to be, pretty minimal. And if you are using an 808, just layer the kick onto the 808 or vice versa. But you don't want to have a super busy kick pattern. So this is the kick pattern that I made. It's very simple. And this is all that we're going to add to the beat, so I'm going to put it all in the mixer and mix it down. I'll leave my mixing tutorial up in the card in the corner, although that is kind of an old video, so if you want me to update that tutorial, let me know in the comments and I'll do so. So our mix is a little bit less simplistic than it usually is. As I mentioned at the beginning, we want the piano melody to be really spacious and ambient. So I threw this plugin called Ambience on it. It's a reverb plugin. I just used the very last preset in the plugin, and it sounds like this now. Then we just did some EQing on the piano chords, nothing too complicated. Then on the hi-hat, we added quite a bit of reverb, a pretty high decay and a pretty high wet amount comparatively to most other hi-hat reverbs. Same with the snare, I added some reverb, not too much in this case, and then I also just threw on a phaser. This is the default preset. And that's it for effects. I just put the sub bass in mono because you generally want your low frequencies to be in mono. Altogether, this is what the mix sounds like. For the most part, you just want the whole mix to be really ambient and you don't want anything to stick out too much. You want it to all be kind of fairly well blended, except for maybe the kick. You might want to have that a little bit louder because it is a trap beat at the end of the day. So that's pretty much it for the beat. So now I'm just going to lay it out and arrange it, and then I'll let you guys hear it at the end of the video. But thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe. Also go down to the description and get my new 200 sub loop kit, which just dropped. It's free. It's on my BeatStars, and you can get that at the link in the description. Also, make sure to go check out my Instagram. When I reach 2,000 followers, I'm dropping a free MIDI kit, which you can get. So make sure to go check that out. But yeah, thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll talk to you all in the next video.
How did Deprimido make this slap so hard?